morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your breakfast bankroll for Sunday, January 16th, 2022, as we are day two of wildcard weekend. Three games on tap, and we are excited here to break down quickly what transpired yesterday, what to look for today, and hopefully get you on the right side and of today's three games as we get ready for to see who plays next week. Obviously, there'll be one game tomorrow as well. But first, my Sunday morning rant and vent for a quick second. Anyone watching the show yesterday, hats off if you were able to jump on Kansas State against Texas Tech, a Texas Tech team that had been rolling, beating Baylor and Kansas, 4.5, 5-point underdogs, and basically a box to wire win for them outright. We talked about the Seton Hall Marquette number, looked a little fishy. Marquette ended up holding on and winning there by one. And of course, we had a couple football games that we broke down and talked about. For myself, for the ECSI VIP family, and everyone here listening that wants to listen for a quick second here. In our business, in our lanes, each day is a new day. It's a new beginning. And I always talk about Mondays, fresh start, new week, new beginning. Well, every day is like that, okay? So whether you're on a heater in the NHL and you're doing okay in football and you're struggling in college hoops or whatever the sports are, it's called traction. It's called momentum, okay? And yesterday's a perfect example here. Is we released 4 games to our family yesterday. And we come out of the gates with a solid win. We had Brown +4 at Princeton, and they lose by 2. So we start the day 1-0, and we're in a battle for our second game. We had Virginia Tech -6.5, a team that was down 7 or 8 at halftime, a team that was playing grab ass, a team that was battling all day. And they get the lead, and the final minute, all of a sudden, they're up 5, and they get fouled. 8 seconds left. Hit the first one, shoot the second one. The ball goes in and spins out, and the game lands on 6. So we get hooked. Instead of landing on 7 and us starting the day 2-0, we're 1-1. Game 3, we had the Leafs puck line +145 on the monies. Up 3-1. Blow the lead, down 5-4, end up winning the game 6-5, and we don't get the empty netter. And the last game, wrong side, wrong everything. How Bobby Hurley still has a job. I will never, ever, ever release another Arizona State game while he is still at the helm. Disgusting. Colorado jumps out to 6-0 lead. Never looked back. It was 31-30 at half. And then they come out and go on like a 9-2 run, and there's a thanks for playing. So technically, the vent very simply is this. Instead of starting 2-0 and going 2-2 for the day with a bad beat on the Leafs, we go 1-3. We lose a unit and some juice, and now we are down a unit and change going into what we call is Sunday Fun Day in the Action Parlay. So that's my vent today. It's about traction. It's about staying the course. It's about staying in your lane. Okay? If you were compulsive, if you were egotistical, if you were steaming about the Virginia Tech loss, where you could have went back in and played 4, 5, 6 other games. You could have jumped on the Patriots. You could have jumped on the under there and whatever, 10 other basketball games. The sermon here today is stay the course. That's all. Stay level-headed. If you find yourself getting antsy, if you find yourself chasing those bad beats, the missed free throws, the missed extra points, the pick six, you need to back off. You need to go take a run. You need to go get out of yourself because it only ends bad. So without further ado, the man from the Palm Tree State, my co-host, the one and only Mr. Scott E. Webb. Scotty, my brother, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Jeff. I am well. We survived our little gale storm last night, and not a whole lot of things going on right now. Rain's gone, brother, and it ain't here. It's not raining, so it's already gone. And 1 o'clock will come, and it'll just be a little windy. That's all.
Shout out and good morning to Colton from the Windy City. Colton, just caught your seven-legged parlay from the balcony. Get back in, grab yourself a hot cocoa, a cup of coffee, and get yourself ready for a crazy day of not just hoops. We got some college. We got some football. I was going to say not just football. Got college hoops, a couple hockey games, a couple NBA games. Caught my eye this morning, Scott, of course. It's kind of comical. Your Tampa Bay Bucks, Tampa Bay, holding at 8.5 all weekend. And wake up this morning and it's a flat 7. Yes, minus 115, minus 120 in the juice. There is a 7.5 at South Point. But most of the Vegas strips, our friend at Circus Sports right here, 7, minus 115. Westgate, John Murray, minus 7, minus 120. Caesars 7 minus 120 as well. I know that you've been talking all week. There will be no rain. We know that. What's grabbing your eye? I know we've talked about these games at length here, and everyone watching and listening, if you are not on board, jump on over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. The same at Twitch. East Coast Sports Investors. We've been breaking these games down since last Monday. So we've got 6 days on this. So if you didn't grab Philly at 8.5, now it's down to 7. Now you're scratching your head and you're saying, oh, shit, what's going on here? What do they know that we don't know?
Well, number one, I've been saying that Leonard Fournette's going to play, and he's not. So he was not activated for the game. I don't think that's going to. I mean, obviously, if they have Leonard Fournette, that's a big deal. But I don't think that that's going to be the deal breaker, and I don't know that that's why that number is changing. To be honest with you, I'm looking at pregame right now where I can look at the bets based on what the number was. So it's kind of weird here. So this game opened originally, what, it was a 9.5 or something like that, or 9 somewhere.
I mean, they're showing most of the spots at 8.5. There was one offshore account that did have a 9. The computer model was 8.5. Pinnacle was actually 7.5, but the other shop that we use opened at 9. So
pregame was showing when it was minus 9, 58% of the money's coming in on Tampa Bay. And then it went to 8.5, 87% of the money's on Tampa Bay. And now it's showing 7.5 and 76% of the money's on Tampa Bay. So you tell me why the line's moving, for God's sakes. It's one of those, hey, I don't care what the number is, as long as it's above 7. We think that the Eagles are going to be in that spot. So we're trying to entice people to get Bucks money. Is that what you think?
Well, obviously, it's strong reverse line, mate. Shout out to Billy in Louisiana. Hello. Give Rebecca a big hug for us as well, please, Mr. Bill.
Hey, we got Marty Lowe in the line today.
Good morning, Bill. Roll Tide. Good morning, Marty. Roll Tide. Marty reached out to me yesterday, a diehard Pats fan as well as Bama and Tennessee Titans. Buckle up, Marty. You got a big game next weekend, which we will be breaking down all week as well. Strong reverse line movement, obviously, on Philly. It's kind of funny, Scott. It's wild card weekend, and we know usually the dogs bark loud. And of course, what happened yesterday, in the both games, which is, listen, I leaned Raiders all weekend. I lean them. A couple bonehead plays. They get the turnover, and they get Peyton Barber made a huge mistake with not getting his foot out of bounds. That cost him 38 yards. So right there was 6 points. Luckily, and I had talked about both field goal kickers best in the business, and I think they had 7 field goals. But the key was to win the turnover battle, which you didn't. The key was to turn field goals into touchdowns in the red zone, which you didn't. But with all that said, you had the ball. You had it technically first and goal with 4 shots. He decided to spike the ball, which is a question a lot of people are saying. I get it. You spike it, you got 3 shots. I get it. You settle down, you breathe. Sometimes when you force that first one, you get the pick, you get a bad play or whatever. So overall, the Bengals sneak the win, miraculously stays under. And then we get to the Patriot game. Win the toss, defer. They go 70 yards, touchdown. Mack and company answer the bell. I'm telling you right now, the best pick I've seen all year. Never mind, probably in such a long time, seeing the circumstances. What a pick. That was the game changer. That was the game, because Bills get the ball. They go down 80 yards to 14-0. Pat's 3 and out. Now it's 20-0, miss extra point. And again, thanks for playing.
Well, I got a couple of thoughts about yesterday before we get into today's games. Number one, that Raider game played out exactly like I thought it would. I couldn't bet on the Bengals yesterday, and I couldn't bet on the Raiders yesterday. And I said that over and over and over. And if I had to go with a way to play, I was going to play on Cincinnati. And the reason was because the way the Raiders play football, they shoot themselves in the foot over and over and over. And you can't do that when you're playing Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL since week 10. So he's the best guy. There is no others. He's the best. And if you're going to beat the best, you got to play close to the best, and you got to put yourself in positions to win. The Raiders weren't in a position to win. They were in a position to tie, which if you're obviously wagering on the Raiders, that's probably a good thing. Having said all of those things, though, the game played out pretty much exactly like I thought it was going to. And I thought the number was really close, and it was very hard to try to pick a side. And I just kind of left that one alone. Now, the other game, I got 2 thoughts. Number one, the first thought is this game should have played out more like the first game, where they were a lot closer. And it should have been one where the teams, because they know each other and all that stuff, the game plans and all those things should have been more effective, at least for one side of the ball, for New England side. Now, having said all that, it reminds me of this. When we talked about that first game, I remember saying that the head coach for Buffalo made no adjustments. He didn't do anything to change the outcome of the game. The second time they played, he certainly did. And this time, I think what we ran into here was the truth. The truth is he's a good football coach. I think he put a game plan together that exploited his team's players as being better than the players on New England side. And I don't mean that in any disrespectful way to New England, but I think Buffalo was a lot better football team. And you can't tell me that Bill Belichick was on his A game yesterday, because there's no way a Bill Belichick coach team, none, that you give a team 7 possessions, they go down and score 7 touchdowns. When they get the 8th possession, they kneel on the football, and that's how it goes. That doesn't happen. And that tells me that Buffalo was more prepared. They put their better players in the right positions, and they did the things that they expected them to do. New England did not. So I mean, everybody can say what they want to about New England and whatever. And I didn't predict that. I thought Bill Belichick would have a good game plan. I thought he would do some things. I thought he would make some adjustments to stop them. They didn't. Or maybe he did and they just can't because the players are better. So that's my thoughts on that game, is that my analysis was way off. I expected New England to come out gangbusters. I expected them to play good defense. I expected them to keep this game down. I expected this to be under 44. And Jesus Christ, Buffalo scored 47 by themselves. So, it is what it is.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not going to play Monday morning quarterback. I'm going to obviously get today's board up there now. But I'm going to say this, Scotty, and I think it's a great lead into obviously the first game here. The Patriots had been leaking for the last month. They were 1-3. They had the number one seed. They have a bye week. They go to the Colts. They lose, and they got ambushed early. Okay. Then they got round 2 against the Bills. They got ambushed early at home and lose. Then in come the Jags. They put up a 50-burger. Okay. Then they go to South Beach in Miami. They got ambushed early again, and they lose. So it was the blueprint. The Indy game, the home game against Buffalo, and the Miami game was the same thing that you saw yesterday. Okay? So my lead into you now is, yes, Philly, when you take their schedule, has beaten a bunch of tomato cans. I get it. But that's the schedule that's been put up in front of them. So 7 out of the last 8 weeks, Jalen Hurts and company have been winning. Your Bucs team, on the other hand, is struggling right now, whether it's injuries, whether it's AB. Now it's Fournette. Gio's out. Evans, Godwin. The list is endless, but you're the Super Bowl champs. You got Tom. You got the home team, which, again, your team this year at home versus the road. The splits are eye-opening. So it's kind of one of these this. We'll be talking tomorrow morning. This comes down to one or two things. You should have used the blueprint, kids. You saw the way Philly's playing. The Bucs are struggling. How could you not take the points? Or it's going to be, guys, who did the Eagles beat? I mean, come on. You got the Bucs at home here. They're destroying teams. So that's my little two-cent sermon leading into the first game, kid.
Okay, so let's talk about the struggling Bucs for a second. So they've played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in their last 8 games. They are 7-1 in the last 8 games. They have scored under 28 points once. They have scored over 30 points 6 times and scored 40 points once. So they're playing tomato cans too. Now you got to remember a couple of things. I shouldn't say that. They played some pretty they played the Colts. They beat the Colts, and that was in Indianapolis, 38-31. And they beat the Bills 33-27 at home. But they're scoring points. Mm-hmm. And they obviously, just like what you said, I mean, it doesn't matter what your schedule is, you still got to play them. But they beat the Colts, they beat the Giants, they beat the Falcons, they beat the Bills, they beat the Panthers, they beat the Panthers again, all scoring over 30 points.
Can I say tomato cans for the most part, other than the Bills?
Yes, I agree. But at the same time, those are big margins. They're scoring 30 points, Jeff, but they're only allowing, they allowed the Giants 10. They allowed the Falcons 17, the Saints 9. They allowed the Panthers 6. They allowed the Panthers 17.
Okay. I'm just going to interject here because those are, and again, I don't want to say I'm playing devil's advocate because, and again, I want to make my point clear here. When I say struggling, they are not coming in like last year. Winners of 5 in a row in regards to they were beating up some teams. They were starting to gain momentum. Okay. This team is different than last year's team. And the teams that you just beat, and you said you scored in 30 plus, offensively all challenged other than the Bills. I mean, when you're talking the Panthers, you're talking the Saints, the Falcons were banged up. But my point is, with the eye test, you are about to lose at the Jets, by the way. You
Yep.
are about to lose at the Jets, okay? And which would have been a big loss for them in the seedings where they are at. Just ask the Rams that. So I guess I don't mean they're struggling. They are just a different team than what they were last year rolling into the playoffs.
No, the difference is not on offense. The difference is defense. The difference last year, they were the number one defense coming into the playoffs. They're not the number one defense coming in this year. So, and a lot of that has to do with health, and they're getting some help there. Levante David's back, and Jason Pierre-Paul's back today, and Shaq Barrett's back today. So I expect them to play pretty well today. I mean, I know everybody can tell me all they want to, and I'm all good with it. I know the line's down to 7, and I know that there's a lot in play when it comes to what sports books do, and reading into that line and reading into what they're asking for is they don't want the number to go below 7 or go under 7. So they'll leave it at 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, whatever. Everybody's going to still bet the Bucks. So I think that they're dropping the number a little bit just to try to get some of that. What I also see is that people have found out it's not raining anymore, or not going to rain. So I see some of the number coming back up on the total. So if you were able to get 45.5, 46, good for you. You're in a pretty good spot when it comes to the total. The truth is, I think that the Bucks score over 30 points today. I don't know how they can't. The thing about this game that's a little bit we can talk about it until the color of my sweater here today, blue. If you want to beat the Bucks, you got to move Tom Brady around. You got to move him around. And this matchup, they don't have the ability to do that. So they have the number one offensive line adjusted sack rate, Tampa Bay. And the Eagles have the number 28 adjusted sack rate on defensive line. That's not going to match up well. That means he's got the time and the place to just sit around and just do whatever he wants to and pick them apart. So there's a couple of things. And one of the comments that I made on somewhere, I don't remember if it was here or somewhere else, but I hate betting when you're trying to ask someone or some team to do something they've never done before. So number one, Jalen Hurts, this is his first playoff game, and you're going to ask him to go beat Tom Brady. Number two, you got Nick Sirianni. This is his first playoff experience as a head coach, and you're going to ask him to go do this on the road in Tampa Bay. And lastly, they don't beat playoff teams. They haven't beaten anybody. So I'm not going to ask Philadelphia to do something that they've never done. I'm going to ask the Buccaneers to do things they're pretty comfortable with. And I think that that's the safest way to play this game. And I have no qualms or fears or anything about it. I think this is going to be a whether or not there's a backdoor cover or not. And whether or not somebody scores with 5 minutes to go, like they did in the game previous, and is that going to be where it goes? Think about it this way, and maybe you correct me if you think I'm thinking in the wrong way. Back when they played in October, the Bucks were -7 on the road, and if you're going to tell me the Bucks are at home and they're going to be -7 or -8, I think you got a ton of value in what the Bucks are today versus what they were back then, because back then that's when they were having some of their issues. They were struggling then. They're not struggling as much today as they did back in the middle of the season.
I think it's just, and this is just my take, I think it's general perception. That's all, because the Bucks team that goes into Philly was healthy. You were healthy for the most part, and now I think the dialogue out there is Tom's weapons. Who does he have for weapons? I mean, most of his weapons are hurt, banged up, or out. You have no one in the running game. Uh, uh, didn't you sign Le'Veon Bell?
Well, he's not going to play. I mean, it's possible. I don't remember. I didn't pay any attention to whether they signed
So
him.
but my point is, Philly's been rolling versus tomato cans. Yes, I said tomato cans. But the fact of the matter is, I just think it's public perception that this is a different Philly team, and I think Vegas is telling you it's a different Philly team. Why? Because you just nailed it. How can I play Tampa -7 in Philly, and now you're going to give me Tampa again at home in the playoffs -7? Something smells here. It smells pretty bad.
I get it. I get it. I understand what you're saying, but I'm not going that way. There is no way. There is 100% no way you're going to get me to back Jalen Hurts in this game. You're just not.
Okay.
Jalen Hurts, just I just wrote it down a second ago. Jalen Hurts on the road this year, he's thrown 11 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. Tom Brady at home has thrown 22 touchdown passes and 4 interceptions. You cannot. There is no way. And with Philadelphia not being able to put pressure on the quarterback, it's just a matter of whether the Bucs want to cover 8, 7, 10, however bad they want to win the game. And I don't think that there's going to be one of these spots here where I don't see Philadelphia. They got in the playoffs not last week. They got in it the week before, and they beat the. And if you remember the game that they won, they beat the Washington football game. The score was 20-16, and they had to come back to win that game because at halftime they were losing, and they had to battle to win that football game. And then they played their substitutes or whatever you want to call it, rested a bunch of players or whatever against the Cowboys and got blown out. So that game kind of throw it out or do whatever you want to with that game. But you got a team here, Jeff, that lost to the Giants.
Well, you were within 30 seconds to losing at the Jets.
Yeah, but they didn't lose.
I agree with what you're saying. Like I said, when we have this conversation tomorrow, it's going to be how the hell can you not take the Bucs? I mean, they were -7 at home. They were -7. Or you're going to say, man, whoa, the writing was on the wall here. I mean, the fact that, again, listen, you can bring out the numbers. Justin, KD out today for the Nets. Anyone playing the Nets today? KD, actually, that's probably for tomorrow.
Yeah, they're not playing today. There's only 4 NBA games today.
Yeah. It's just, again, the perception, two teams going, I think, in a little different ways. That's fine. Like I said, it's like I can see both sides of the story. I really can. And again, with the Philly side, I think it's the same thing with the Pittsburgh side. We're a half hour in here, and I'm still looking at this board. I'll give you my 2 cents here. Philly with the ball with the chance for a backdoor. That's the best case scenario I see. Okay. I've been on the Niners since August. I'm not getting off the Niners. The problem is, I think it's that public trendy dog. That's the one team this weekend that I think everyone thinks is the upset winner, other than maybe Arizona. And then Pittsburgh, Kansas City, I can tell you that same thing. Big Ben with the ball, final drive. Do they get the backdoor cover? Vegas is telling you the final of this game. Vegas is telling you the final score of this game is 30-17. 30-17, guys. It won't get off at 12.5 right now. And your under over is 46.5, 47. Basic math. 30-17. Mark it down. It's whatever time it is now. 11:04. That's your final score for the Sunday night game. 30-17.
Well, I'm just going to say this. for those of you who watch or whatever, I do live in Tampa. Obviously, because I live in Tampa, I can get some information here locally. I'm not a Tampa Bay fan. They're not my football team. My football team, when I was younger and growing up and going through it, is the Oakland Raiders, man. I mean, that was my team. So Tampa Bay is not my team. Now, having said that they're not my team, I get a lot of information and different things and stuff, being them closer to them because I live here. And I got a hat from them, so whatever. So anyway, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that I'm not on Tampa Bay because I'm a fan of Tampa Bay. I'm on Tampa Bay because my numbers and the data and the way this game plays out, I think that they win this game. Now, I get all of the stuff that goes on in the gambling world, and I get all the different sides and the numbers and reading into the lines and all of these things. And this is just where Jeff and I have some different philosophies. So anyway, that being said, I'm on Tampa Bay. I don't care what the number is. It can be 7, it can be 8, it could be 8.5. I'm all over it. So that gets me to the second game that you were just talking about with the 49ers. And all the work I did on this game is unbelievable. The first thing that I'll tell you is that the implied score in this game is 27-24 Dallas. And the line at -3 is kind of interesting. The San Francisco's only been an underdog in 3 games this year, and 2 of those games they were an underdog was against the Rams, and they have the Rams number. They beat the Rams twice. The other game was against Arizona, and when they played Arizona, they were +6, and they didn't cover that +6 number. So those are only 3 times they've been underdogs all season long, and they're going to be underdogs today. And what's interesting to me is how good Dallas is on offense, and then how they match up, right? So I guess the best way to say this, and let's just start it this way, is that San Francisco is built to run the football and then throw off the run. So Dallas is not necessarily a good team at stopping the run. So if they're able to run the football some, that means they can get the movement that they need, and then they can get the linebackers to suck up, and then they can dink and dunk and throw the ball over those linebackers' heads, and they can move the football some. So then it becomes, can Dallas's pressure on the quarterback be the difference that makes this game a one-sided affair? And the answer is yes. I mean, Dallas can pressure the quarterback, and one of the things that stands out to me here, and looking at data, and data can tell you some stuff that you might not normally be able to see. My opinion is the key to this game is Jimmy Garoppolo. He's the key to the whole game. Jimmy Garoppolo. If the guy throws on time and on rhythm, and the receiver breaks, he's good. He can lead the receiver to where they need to go. They can get yards after the catch, and they can move the football. If they are in a position where Jimmy Garoppolo has to be a playmaker, he is horrible. He is not a playmaker. So that's the key to the game. Are you going to be able to move Garoppolo around? Are you going to be able to stop the run enough to make it so that the dink and then the dunk and all the moving that they do pre-snap, they do 70, I think it's 73 or 75% of their pre-snap looks include motion. The reason they do that is to try to get the defense to expose what it is they're going to be in, so Jimmy can read and throw basically right away. So the question is Micah Parsons and Gregory and these guys, can they rush the quarterback, and can they get there? And the truth is the offensive line for San Francisco is not very good. So yes, they can get there. So that throws it to the other side. So the other side, you have Dallas's offensive line against what is considered to be one of the better defensive lines in football, and they are. But they're really good against the run, and they're pretty good against pressure. But Dallas has got a quarterback that not two things. One, the offensive line's pretty good at blocking the pressure, and two, Dak can move around in the pocket and he can make plays. And if that's the case, then it's all Dallas in this game, because the secondary for San Francisco is one of the worst secondaries in the playoffs. They are not good in any way, shape, or form. So this is Dallas's spotting here, and I'm trying to get it on my spot. So San Francisco has 23 pass interference calls against them this year for 367 yards, number one in the NFL. They are 31st in the NFL against the deep pass. And the question then becomes, is if Dallas's offensive line can hold up against the San Francisco defensive line, Dallas is going to win this game. Now, if Garoppolo is on the other side having to move around some because Dallas puts pressure on him, Dallas is even going to make it harder on them to win. So which is more likely to happen? My opinion is that because it's a home game where Dallas is very, very good, Dallas is scoring 35 points a game at home. I like the idea here that that Dallas is going to be in a spot that they cover this number. And I know that there's a San Francisco trendy dog out there, and I know that there's a lot of predictions that are saying, hey, San Francisco is going to win this game. There needs to be a lot that goes right for that to happen. And even if Dallas is in a spot where they have a little bit of trouble with the pass protection, that can still be a playmaker and make some stuff happen against that secondary. So I like the idea here that they only got to cover 3, and I think they will.
Again, all 3 games. I think all the games this weekend, to be honest, initially before a couple of them started, were coin flips. They were spot on the Raider game, lands on 7 and miraculously stays under. Obviously, wrong number on the Bills and the total. Again, they talk cold. People can. These football teams are equipped to score in the cold. Wind is the factor, obviously. Wind, rain, snow, not cold. So they were kind of off on that one. Now you look at today's. We went 25 minutes into the first game where we said, is it Hurts down 14 with the ball for a backdoor cover? This game, public trendy dog. You're right. Go back a week ago. The Rams were up 17-0. 17-0. If the 49ers get down 17-0 today, it's done. It's over. So I just see a lot of people. It's a split card. And I think, again, this game is the same way. Tip ball interception by Jimmy G. A couple 3-and-outs. Dak to Cooper. Dak to Lamb. Dak to Schultz. And in comes Zeke. This could get ugly. You got a 49er team chasing. We talked about the Patriots. They can't be chasing. They're great front runners. And I think this is, even though the 49ers came roaring back last week, you get this 49er team on top, as you said, with that running game, and you're now pushing the lines up to stop the run. Then it's Debo. Then it's Ayuk.
That changes the complexion of the whole game. That's where San Francisco can do this. I'm not saying that San Francisco is not a spot here where they can't win the game. It just matters how the game philosophy plays out and which side does it work. And I'm just going to tell you that Dallas at home is kind of like Tampa Bay when they're at home. They're a different team at home than they are on the road. And not that San Francisco isn't either. Shit, they can't win a home game for the life of them. But I just think that it's the right way for my mind, and the way I see the game is you got to give Dallas more credibility than you do San Francisco because it's a home game.
I agree. Pittsburgh, Kansas City, 8:15. Most likely, I didn't say it is. Most likely, Big Ben's last game. A lot of people said that too last week, by the way. Rotation number 149, 150. a line that opened at 13 and is 12.5. It's 13 at DraftKings, 13 at Pinnacle, 12.5 at the Vegas Strip, and under over that opened at 47 now is at 46.5. This is the late game. I'm looking, and actually, there's usually a West Coast basketball game. There's not. The last college basketball game looks like 8 o'clock. So basically, this is it. There's no West Coast action to parlay this. I've kind of spoken my piece here. Dink and dunk, Najee Harris, defense, Mike Tomlin, Big Ben versus, a team that was rolling. Defense was playing phenomenal. Offense, okay. A team that's been to the Super Bowl 2 straight years. A team that most likely knows if they win, will be facing the Bills next week. I went on a vent 10 minutes ago. I think the final score is 30-17, and I'm just going to stick with that.
This one's a little bit it's a little bit harder just because the number's so big, right? So how many teasers you think are going to be out there with the Bucks today and Kansas City today, by the way?
That's going to be the monster of all monsters. I mean, and even going into yesterday, when you looked at the two games, people using, again, Tampa with, is it the Pats plus 10? I saw a lot of Tampa with Pats plus 10s out there. I saw a lot of Tampa, Kansas City's, a lot of Tampa with Cincinnati just to win. So you're spot on.
So here's, these two teams just played each other, right? And they played in Kansas City. So at halftime, now that game was the day after Christmas, so not very long ago. At halftime, the score of that game was 23-0, Jeff. At the end of the third quarter, the score was 30-3. And with 3 minutes to go in the game, it was 36-3. It ended 36-10, but it's 36-3. What has changed since that game? Absolutely nothing. So Big Ben, and everybody knows that he can't throw the ball deep anymore, right? But he's actually got a better completion percentage on his deep balls this year than he did prior to his arm surgery. I think it was 2019 now. 33% versus 30. Not that that's a huge deal, but it's something. But here's some interesting numbers for Big Ben. Number one, he has the second fewest air yards per pass attempt in the NFL, 6.5 yards. When they played Kansas City, when Kansas City blitzed, he had an average of 4.5 yards. So what does that mean? That means that he wasn't looking to throw the ball anywhere but to the guy that's his hot read, period, when they blitzed. And I think that's going to hold true again in this game. And the one thing that I saw and found that I thought was kind of interesting, and I've never seen it done this way, but Football Outsiders put a thing together and said, here's a chart of the highest failed completion percentage passers in the NFL. So these are balls that probably should have been completed that weren't. Big Ben leads the list. He is 32.8% missing guys he should have hit, and 128 failed completions. That's a shit ton. And the next closest guy was 109. That was Kirk Cousins, by the way. But anyway, so the philosophy that Pittsburgh is going to try to use in this game, right, is defense hold the line. Defense keep us in the game. Defense. Then create a turnover. Maybe create 2 or 3 turnovers, for God's sakes. And then offense do just enough with short fields, kick a few field goals, and win the game. There is no way you're going to be able to do that to the Chiefs. The Chiefs, The Chiefs are winners of 9 of the last 10 games they've played, and in those 10, in the last 5 games they played, 35.4 points a game. And they've played 9 playoff teams this year. They are the toughest schedule out there. They played 9. They are 6-3 against the 9 playoff teams that they have. There is no way you can't tell me that they can cover 12.5 or 13 if they want to. And the question becomes is, do they want to? I don't think the weather is going to be an issue. It's 33 degrees. There's only 6-mile-an-hour winds. Give me Kansas City. I'll take Kansas City minus 12.5. I hope everybody keeps betting on Pittsburgh. I know that this is not the contrarian view, and I know that I'm sitting here and I want you to bet on Tampa Bay, and I want you to bet on Dallas, and I want you to bet on Kansas City, all favorites. I can't find it, and I know you're trying to sell me on, but I can't find it on the way to bet the dogs in these games.
I'm not trying to sell you anything. I have 2 bridges, though, that I could sell you, the Bourne and the Sagamore, if you want those. No, again, wild card weekend, dogs bark, dogs roar, and in come the 2 favorites yesterday. And again, I see exactly what you're seeing. I hear exactly what you're seeing. Okay. And I'm looking at the numbers. The Tampa numbers, 69% of the bets, 73% of the money on Tampa, yet the line dropped. 50% of the bets, 51% of the money on Dallas, yet the line dropped. 60% of the bets, 68% of the money on Kansas City. The line dropped. So the way I read the market, again, this reverse line movement on all 3 of them. Well, sometimes these guys say, hey, the only way we're going to get money on these dogs is to throw them the curveball, throw them the changeup. Hey, guys, let's show the number dropping. What's the first thing everyone saw this morning when they looked at the numbers? Holy shit, Philly went from 8.5 to 7.5. That must mean late, sharp, heavy money's coming in on Philly. Let me run to the window now before it gets to 6.5, which you and I know is not going to happen. Dallas, same thing. Shit, let me buy the hook. Let me get the 49ers plus 3.5. And the Kansas City, hey, if I take Pittsburgh up to 13, as long as they, maybe 10, 11, 12, even 13, and you and I know that lands on 14. So again, this is what I like about you and I. I'm trying to read the market. You're giving us cold, hard facts, and I see both sides. I really do.
Well, that's where the art comes in. The art comes into we both have gray hair, and it's one of those spots where we've been around the block. And what's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do. And I am not opposed to doing, and in the NBA, it's just tough as shit. I was 2-0 yesterday in the NBA. The 2 games that we gave out, one was an under, one was an over. So far I give out 9 plays in the NBA, and I'm 5-4 in the NBA. So I feel pretty good about at least being 1 game ahead. I am not going to give out an NBA game today just because there's only 4 games on the board and I don't like them. But anyway, that being said, I think that when you're looking at these games and you have to try to figure out the art piece of it, is that I can get here and blow you away with number after number after number after number after number after number after number. That don't mean shit. And you can sit here and you can look at how the line moves and whether something's reverse line movement or it's CLV this or it's whatever. And just like you were talking about in the preamble, some of that stuff doesn't come in. So it's a fine art of trying to figure out what is you think is the best. And the way I describe it to people is there's a probability of certain things happening more so than a probability of other things happening. And in your mind, because it's your money, it's in your mind, you have to figure out your probability of something happening more so than the other. Can you be talked out of that? Absolutely. If you are shown something that just totally makes sense to you and you didn't see it. But if you've seen it and you know kind of where things are going and what's happening, you weigh that out in your mind and you go, that's kind of interesting, but that's not going to change my mind. That's like this Bucks game. That's kind of interesting, but that's not going to change my mind, right? So I say that in a sense of the probabilities of what I'm looking at and how I'm wagering is based off of the probabilities of what the other team can and can't do. So I can't sit here, and I said it, I can't support a head coach who's never been in the playoffs before, a quarterback who's never been in the playoffs before. I can't support a team that ain't beat nobody and ask them to go do it, especially against the defending Super Bowl champs. I can't. So unless you give me a number that says, Scott, you got to do it this way because shit, they just gave you 14 points. Okay, well, hell, 14 points. I get that. Let's go. So you kind of, that's how I look at these things. And my actual score in the Bucks game might surprise people because I don't have it like this greatest big blowout. I got 31-20. Because I think the Bucks defense hasn't been strong lately, and I think they can get to 20 points maybe. But I don't think that the Bucks are going to be under 30. So 31-20 is the number that I have there, and that certainly goes over that number that has been shrunk down to 46, 47 now or whatever it is. My numbers show in the Dallas game 30-23 Dallas, and then my numbers in the Chiefs game is 33-13.
Well, it's been an amazing week. It really has, from the breakfast bankroll to the midday market report to the closing bell. And we have just done hours upon hours of shows, content, information. Following has picked up immensely. Again, hats off. Thank everyone here all this week and every day, of course, that have been following us. If you're not following us, please do on social media at EC Sports Invest and at Webby20MLB. And we're really, really, really looking for a quick favor, guys. Jump over to YouTube, East Coast Sports Investors, and subscribe. It's free. Tell a friend. And if you got another second, jump over to Twitch. If you don't have that app, download the app. If you're on social media, follow them. There's 9 million viewers over there. And it's some good entertainment, and it's free. So myself and Scotty, listen, everyone, enjoy the games today. There's 3 of them. You got next week they'll be the same. Okay. And then the following week, there'll be 2 games. So always invest and wager responsibly. Okay. It's Sunday. It's the last day of the week. Okay. If you're down a handful of units, take a stance, take a swing, and move on. Monday's a new day, a new week, a new beginning. Do not chase. We call it Quicksand Sunday for a reason. And if you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number right there. Ask for help. Why? Because we care. We want you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. So for myself, Jeff Dawson, my co-host Scott E. Webb, we wish you the best. Best of luck today. Enjoy the NFL and the other games. Have a blessed day. Cash some tickets, and we'll see you next week.